time for the Brothers War EDH Set review.
I'm your host, Joe Cherries.
I'm your host, BZ, joined by Amber, and that makes us the Nitpicking Nerds. We're still making videos every single day. If you want to support us and make sure we can continue to do that until we die, you can go to Patreon and give us actual money. There's a link in the description. We'll love you as much as we can without making you uncomfortable, and we also love Jackal Rocks as much as we can.
Thank you for supporting this channel. Also, if you would like to support us, you can use our affiliate link in the description below for IntoTheAM, which has the swaggiest shirts on the whole entire planet.
And you save 10%, so it's real discount on real things you can buy and help the channel at the same time.
It is real, and Maraschiello.com has been supporting this channel for a long time, and we love Maraschiello.com. Seriously, thanks, Maraschiello, for being so awesome. And guess what? There's an ad in this video for Maraschiello. Can you guess where it is? The answer is, of course, no.
No. And happy birthday to everyone whose birthday is today, because we are the official Magic birthday channel. This is the set review. We're not talking about Legends unless they're good in the 99. And we're talking about every card from the main set and the Commander product. Everything relevant, you're about to hear about it, even if it's bad, and we want to tell you about it.
Yes, obviously we're not talking about the Commanders outside of the 99 because we do a whole series called The Ranking of a Commander, and you will see our thoughts for them as Commanders. All right, so we do an A to F grading system. Let's go over the grades so you understand when we give a grade, what we mean. A, these are auto-includes, cards that you don't need very much synergy with, but you can just put them in your deck anyway. B's, these require some synergies. One little example is Beast Whisperer, where you need to be playing creatures. Is it a big synergy required? No, but you need something to make the card good. C's, middle of the road average. Almost every deck is playing some number of C's. You can try and push your deck to all B's and A's, but you're usually going to be pushing toward the competitive side when you do that. D's require a high amount of synergy. They're usually pretty bad cards, but if your deck is calling for this specific effect, this niche effect, then they can fit in your decks. And F's are cards that we're actually saying avoid these at almost any cost. D's through A's, if we give it a D- or an A+, those are cards we think have some homes within the Commander format. D's are obviously have less homes. A's obviously have more homes.
Yeah, we're not going to call anything unplayable unless we slap a big old F on it.
Yes, F is the grade where we're like, this is unplayable. Now, we're only going over the cards that we think are relevant to Commander. So if you were thinking, where is X card? Leave a comment and we can be like, hey, here's why we didn't talk about it. So to start, I wanted to do the coolest thing in the whole set, the 3 melding cards. I guess there's 6 melding cards that meld into big, giant, cool cards. So let's start with the first one, the granddaddy of Magic, really. Urza, Lord Protector, 1 blue-white for a 2/4. Artifacts, instants, and sorceries you cast cost 1 less, and you can pay 7. If you control Urza and the Might and Meek Stone, you transform it into Urza Planeswalker, which I'll get to in a minute. The thing it melds with, the Might Stone and the Meek Stone, enters the battlefield. You can choose either draw 2 cards or give a creature -5/-5. Then it taps for 2 mana, but you can't spend it on non-artifact spells. And oh boy, is this Urza Planeswalker that you get something really cool, because you can activate it twice each turn. Starts at 7 loyalty, and its first plus is artifacts, instants, and sorcery spells you cast this turn cost 2 less to cast. You gain 2 life. You could do that twice in 1 turn, making everything cost 4 less to cast, which is kind of crazy. +1, draw 2 cards, discard a card. 0, make 2 1/1 colorless soldier artifact creature tokens. -3, exile target non-land permanents. And -10, artifacts and planeswalkers you control gain indestructible until end of turn. Destroy all non-land permanents. This might be the very coolest card from the set, probably tied with the other 2 that we're going to talk about in a second. Now, Urza is actually a fairly good card by himself, but he is blue-white, and he does require, you want to have an instant sorcery artifact type of list. And once you have that, I'm throwing the Might Stone, the Might Stone and Weak Stone into the deck, because oh my gosh, do I want this achievement? I want to do it. I think it's like a C+, because Urza kind of functions by itself. The Might Stone and the Weak Stone kind of function by themselves. But overall, the card, it is cool to get there, but it's tough to get there.
It's not going to blow the roof off the game. Yeah. Exactly. It's like, I don't want meld cards to do that. It doesn't do that. It just seems like it's fun. / can be pretty good. If Joe's Urza and we're doing Brothers War, then I would definitely be Mishra. Mishra, claimed by Gix, actually, is 2 black-red for a 3/5. It says, whenever you attack, each opponent loses X life, and you gain X life, where X is the number of attacking creatures. If Mishra, claimed by Gix, and a creature named Phyrexia and Dragon Engine are attacking, and you both own and control them, then you can meld them into Mishra, lost to Phyrexia, and enters the battlefield tapped and attacking. The Phyrexian Dragon Engine is a 3-mana 2/2 with double strike. When it enters the battlefield from your graveyard, you may discard your hand and draw 3 cards. It is unearthed for 5. and they're going to meld into Mishra Lost to Phyrexia, which has so many words on it. When it enters or attacks, choose one. Target opponent discards 2 cards. Mishra deals 3 damage to any target. Destroy target artifact or planeswalker. Creatures you control gain menace and trample. Creatures you don't control gain -1/-1 until end of turn. Or you make 2 tapped Power Stone tokens, and it's a 9/9. This thing hits like a truck. You kind of have to like play both cards and then attack with them, so it's not the easiest thing, but it is free, unlike Urza paying 7 mana.
Yeah, very true. 7 mana to flip into the Planeswalker is a lot to pay. All you have to do is get in with attacks, give your stuff haste. The cool thing about the Dragon Engine is that you can unearth it and get in for that attack in order to get this thing to flip over. I like this in really heavy attack decks where you're going wide. Something like an Ishin deck is the first thing that came to my mind, where it's like, hey, Urza's or Mishra's effect is just good inside this deck. All right, I'll throw the dragon in here, and if we can flip it, we're doing something powerful.
Well, the dragon does something too. You discard your hand, draw 3. Not that you'd want to double that, but this, you know what? This seems easier to flip than Urza, definitely. Like, because especially if Mishra's your commander, we're not really necessarily talking about that, but you just got to get the stupid 3-drop engine out. That seems really easy.
Yeah, I think this is, again, like a C+. Both of the cards are fairly playable by themselves, and it's a fun achievement to get. I think that both of these cards, both Urza and Mishra, will play better with some tutors to go get the other half of them.
Yeah, they just look so cool.
No.
So cool.
Yeah, and speaking of cool, we have one more of these things, and it's Titania, Voice of Gaia. 1 green for a 3/4 with reach, and whenever 1 or more lands are put into your graveyard from anywhere, you gain 2 life. At the beginning of your upkeep, if there are 4 or more lands in your graveyard, and you both own and control Titania, Voice of Gaia, and a land named Argoth, Sanctum of Nature, exile them and meld them into Titania Gaia Incarnate. Argoth is a land that enters untapped if you control a green legendary creature. It taps for a green, and you can pay 2 green to make a 2/2 bear. Then mill 3 cards. And just when you thought these 2 cards couldn't get any cooler, the melded one is so cool. It's a star with vigilance, reach, trample, and haste. And its power and toughness is equal to the number of lands you control. And when it enters the battlefield, you return all lands from your graveyard to the battlefield. And then you can pay 3 and a green to put 4+1/+1 counters on a land you control. It becomes a 0/0 elemental creature with haste. It's still a land.
This seems really easy to flip. The land is not really in danger of dying, so you just need to keep this around until your upkeep.
Yeah, and also so with this one, you're just going to, you put lands in your graveyard, flip this thing over, and then they all come back.
Permanent value. They can't take that away from you.
You're always getting 4 lands back. It literally requires that to flip. So there's going to be 4 lands in your graveyard when this thing flips. It's absolutely ridiculously huge. It has haste. It's attacking right away. As soon as you flip it, it's attacking.
You could KO people with this one.
Yes, and also if you can just mana sink, the cool thing about it is you don't have to target a land that isn't already animated. You can just go put it on this 4/4, make it an 8/8, make it a 12/12.
You could. I almost don't think I'll be using that. I'll just be stoked to have 100 lands in play and attacking with 100.
Oh, I kind of like it as a fallback. Like I like it because Titania Gaia Incarnate can kind of put you in this position where it's so big and so dominant on the board, you don't need to do much else. So what you can do is you can just stack on one land and like be attacking with just that in the land, and then build up cards in hand.
Well, all these meld cards either way are super awesome, and I'm kind of thinking this is really teeing up a Shuffle Scuffle quadruple meld, because you just add Bruna and Gisela as the last deck, and you've got a pod.
Oh, that's so cool. You're right. That might be a great shuffle. Yeah, also, so I think they're all C+ overall. All the cards play decently by themselves. Like Titania's the worst, but on the other side, the land is the freest thing, because if you're playing a cheaper green legend, all right, it just comes in untapped.
Yeah, and plus you get permanent value with the flippy dippy thing. Although they all give you permanent value.
Yeah, flippy dippy. I like the flippy dippy thing. All right, let's go on to the next one.
All right, we're in real cards now. This is Calamity's Wake. It's 1 and a white. Exile all graveyards. Players can't cast non-creature spells this turn. Exile this thing. This is like a one-shot. Rest in peace. Probably more for CDH, and it might not be even that ubiquitous in that format. Just worth mentioning. I think it's like a D+.
Yeah, this card's interesting, and it could play better than a D+. That's why I put it on here. Is how good are these one-shot exile all graveyard instants? They've been playing pretty well for me. I've been impressed with them. So I wanted to mention it because it's a card that I want to give a try in some deck at some point.
But this is really as close to just exile, you get nothing else as possible.
I would, yes. It's
not like, Zotswill gives you something, and Bojuka Bog is a land, and like all this other stuff.
Yeah, but it is also the cheapest version that we do get.
Kinda. Sorta, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like, Lantern of the whatever. Soul Guide Lantern just kind of does it for 1.
Sure, that's fair. Yeah, I guess it does. Next, we have Disciple of Kalis Nin. What? Kalis Nin. Whatever. 4 and a white for a 3/4. When it enters the battlefield, starting with you, each player chooses up to 5 permanents they control. All permanents other than this one that weren't chosen this way phase out. Permanents cannot phase in. This one is really weird, and I'm not sure what to think of it because it is a very unique effect. It leaves everyone with their best 5 permanents, often going to be lands because you don't really want to not leave your lands in play. But this is also very susceptible to removal. But then everyone's stuff is just phased out. There's a really interesting dynamic here because if someone has a dominant, if you play this with a dominant board state and everyone keeps their lands, you get a dominant attack now, right? You choose your creatures and sure, you don't have lands, but you can just hit for like 20 potentially with all your big creatures.
Is the phasing in tied to this or is it normal?
Nope, it's normal. So they will.
So they won't phase in until later.
They won't phase in until their upkeep. Yeah.
So like if I'm the person to the right of this, and it dies, everybody gets their stuff before me, and I could just die.
Yeah, exactly. So there is definitely some punishment. This card is really interesting. I'm not sure how to take advantage of it. That's where I'm with it. It's like maybe this card's good, maybe this card's great, or maybe it's just bad and it doesn't work that well.
Yeah. Oh, geez. If you play this and it dies, and then like someone just kills it after it resolves, you just like lose the game.
Oh, yeah, I'm just gonna give this one I'm gonna give this a C-. I think it's worth trying, and it might do more than I predict, but it also could be awful and not be a good card at all.
Yeah, and I've heard this enough now, so I'm officially gonna call it. No more. Oh my God! What if they Teferi's protection? Now it's literally never gonna happen. I'm sorry. It's like 1 in a million. It's not funny anymore. It could happen. It'd be cool. I'm just so tired of hearing about it already.
I don't think it's a 1 in a million. I think it will happen some percentage of the time if you play.
Don't play this because of that.
Yes, I agree. Don't play this because of that. Play this because you believe it's a good card and you want to try it.
I hate this meme already. Into the Trenches. 1 white for an enchantment. Creature you control get +1/+1. And you can pay 6 to Fiend Hunt or something tied to this enchantment only once. This kind of stinks. It's enough. We don't like glorious anthems or anthems for a tribe that are just an anthem. And this is like so much marginally more than that. I don't like it.
Yeah, I'm looking for like things that pump my creatures. I like lords because they usually give you a little bit more.
Yeah, when they give you more.
And they're your tribe usually. So like even if they're just like not too much more, at least it's your tribe. This thing is just kind of an enchantment, and +1/+1 is not bad. I've gotten a little higher on +1/+1 in combat metas, but I don't want to spend a card that's pretty much dedicated to that. And then it's a 6-mana removal spell, which is way overcosted.
No, I'd rather just play some kind of like overrun effect.
Next, we have Lauren of the Third Path, 2 and a white for a legendary creature, and it's a 2/1. It has Vigilance. It enters, destroy up to 1 target artifact or enchantment. All right, so just right there, that is Reclamation Sage. It's a legend. We don't care about that, so this is already a good card. But it just has more text because you can tap it and you and target opponent draw a card. You're probably not going to do that super often, but it's a fallback, and it is there when you need it. This is just a C+. Same grade I would give Reclamation Sage nowadays.
Well, I don't know. I think this card's pretty amazing. I think it's definitely better than a Reclamation Sage. I think I might give it a B-.
Oh, see, I just think it's on the same exact.
There's so much more here. Like, this stupid, like, you both draw card ability is bad, and I would never play a card that just does that, but this doesn't just do that. It's a normal functional card that is great. And then you're going to use it because it's going to be relevant. Oh, man. I'm excited. I'm going to put this in like every white deck.
I think my point for this card is that all the relevant text in this card is exactly Reclamation Sage, and it doesn't push the needle for me the extra ability.
See, I think that is going to be super relevant because whenever you need it, it's just more than Reclamation Sage.
I agree. I'm agreeing that this is a better card than Reclamation Sage. I just don't think it pushes the needle from C+ to B-.
I'm at B-, and I'm willing to go up
C+.
from there.
C+ for me. What do we got next?
Oh, this might be the best white commander, I think, of all time.
And we're not making fun of anybody.
It's Miral, Shield of Argive, 3 and a white for a 3/4. During your turn, your opponents can't cast spells or activate abilities of artifacts, creatures, and enchantments. And whenever she attacks, you get X1/1 soldiers, or X is your soldier count. This is so, despite me just saying it was the best thing ever, it's actually very medium.
Yeah, in the 99, I don't even think it's very good. I think
you have to be tribal, kind of? And it's like a weird Grand Abolisher?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention this because it is a second Grand Abolisher. If a deck wants a second Grand Abolisher for some reason, then you can play this. Other than that, I think you just avoid it. I'd give it a D. It's a fine effect, overcosted though.
Yeah, I'll sauce it a D+.
Yeah, sure. Next, I have a card I really like, and it is Platoon Dispenser. 5 mana for a 4/6 at the beginning of your end step. If you control 2 or more other creatures, draw a card. Pay 2 and a white to make a 1/1 soldier, and then you can unearth it for 2 white. I just like this card.
That's a lot of that's going to add up. It kind of cantrips itself right away.
It's really easy. It's a creature. It's a decently big creature. It's a 4/6 for 5. It just comes out. It sits there, and in your deck, the decks that are playing this card, you will draw every single end step. And God, we can't explain how much we like drawing your end step versus if this card says upkeep. I'm low on this card. I'm off this card. I'm not really playing it at all. But this says end step C+. I'm very high on this card. I also like that you can just cash it in later game. It's sitting in your graveyard. Unearth it, draw a card, get in for a little attack.
Yeah, I don't think it's super high power, but I think it is good. So I think
Agreed.
C+ is fine. Let's go to Thopter Shop. 3 mana for an artifact. Whenever one or more artifact creatures you control die, draw a card, but only once per turn. They love that once per turn. And then 2 and a white, tap it, make a 1/1 Thopter. Okay, you're really, really specific. Artifact creature white deck.
Yeah, exactly. I think this is a C-, but if you're exactly the artifact creature deck, which
What is it, Maraschiello? The elephant?
Maraschiello is a commander for that, and now the new Urza is specifically, which is where this card comes from, is that Urza deck. It's made for that. It's a pretty decent card, and it will be good in those decks.
Yeah, I want to build a deck that takes advantage of all these power stones. They just really tack them on, and they put the restriction, which is cool. But now I want to try to build something that just like totally abuses it.
Yeah, power stones seem bad. I will say that.
Ooh, I don't know. I'm excited for certain decks to play them.
Yeah, that's fair. Next, we have Tokasia's Welcome. 2 and a white for an enchantment. Whenever one or more creatures with mana value 3 or less enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. Trigger only once each turn. I think I wanted to bring this up because I want to say this card is passable, it is playable, and it is decent. But we do have a lot of white card draw now. Like, it is something we're getting consistently, and this is kind of on the lower end. It's a C-. I would play it if I had it, and I had it, especially token making deck. Like, I think of something that's kind of like your, what is it called? Oketra deck. So I think it's something like your Oketra deck where tokens are entering, they have no mana value, you can draw each turn.
Well, the thing that I think this is doing now is it's really making me want to play all those flash creatures that are really good anyway. We already have the Deep Gnome Terramancer. We already have the Archivist of Ogma. You can just throw a white main line in and just draw a card every turn.
There's also, on top of that, you can also add in...
anything that taps to make tokens.
No, the thing that Cathar Commander, where you flash it in, it's a 3/1, you can sacrifice the
There's a lot of like Solitude. There's a lot of white creatures with flash. It doesn't trigger this, but just in general. You can kind of get some flash synergy going.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's move on to Scholar of New Horizons. 1 and a white for a 1/1, enters the battlefield with a counter on it, and you can tap and remove a counter from it to go search for a plains, and if somebody has more lands than you, it just goes in play.
White is good at ramping now. We do not need this card. I think this card is pretty bad, though it does have some synergies with counter decks. But having the tap and not just being an activated ability that we can do right away makes me very low on this card.
But it does draw a card. Like if Knight of the White Orchid, if you don't meet the criteria, it just doesn't do anything. This at least draws you planes.
Yeah, that's fair. That is true that it does do a little bit more. I'm still off on it. Let's give it a D and move on.
We'll see. We'll play test it.
This next card I think is going to be very good, especially if you're playing against a lot of ramp decks. It's Urza's Silex, and it's 3 mana for a legendary artifact. You pay 2 white, exile the Silex. Each player chooses 6 lands they control, destroy all other permanents, activate only as a sorcery, and when the Silex is put into exile from the battlefield, you can pay 2 and search for a planeswalker and put it into your hand.
That's probably not going to happen, but the actual card is there's no denying this card is great. The only question I have is it too great and it's going to get rule zeroed out?
Yes, which is interesting. I think that this card is perfect for answering ramp decks. Now, it's something that we need more answers to, right? Like ramp decks.
I'm sick of it.
It's something that it's one of the hardest things to answer in Commander because mass land destruction is frowned upon, which rightfully so. It's not fun. It kind of slows the game to a halt. It changes the game. This does that. This does that, but it leaves everyone with 6 mana, meaning they can still play. 6 is a lot of mana to still cast your spells and do the things you were doing. I think this card is right on the cusp of fair, but a great way to actually answer a deck that might ramp up 30 lands.
Yeah, I like giving it a B, starting it, and then seeing if it's actually too miserable.
Yes, this is also this card. It'll still be a B. I think this card will undoubtedly still be a B, but will it see a lot of play due to the fact that it could be miserable?
Well, we'll let you know, and we will advocate for it if it is fair.
I'm advocating for this card right now.
Blue cards, Hercule's Final Meditation, 4 blue, blue, blue for an instant. As long as it's not your turn, it costs 3 more to cast. Return all non-land permanents to their owner's hands. End the turn.
This card is not Cyclonic Rift.
It's a fair Cyclonic Rift.
It's a much more fair version. It's a much meaner one, too. When you cast this...
Sorry, discard all your cards.
It's literally like, you don't get a turn. You don't get to draw whatever card you're going to draw. You don't even get to draw that your turn is over.
Yeah, because we're doing it on upkeep.
It makes somebody lose a turn for 10 mana. It's very mean. I think this card's like a D+. The fact that it bounces your stuff, too, makes me just want to always play Cyclonic Rift in cases where I can. This card's going to be just as unfun as Cyclonic Rift. So
it's weird because it's not... doesn't beat Cyclonic Rift in any category. It's not more fun and it's not better.
Yeah, exactly. It's just as miserable, maybe more miserable. So it's like, do I want to play this card instead? I don't know. D+, it's good, but not fun.
Yeah, good but not fun. Well, it's not even that good. One with the multiverse. What is that?
Well, one with the multiverse is 6 blue, blue enchantment. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may play lands and cast spells from the top of your library. Once during each of your turns, you may cast a spell from your hand or the top of your library without paying its mana cost. Really, really cool card again.
Poopy Omniscience.
Yeah, it is. It's like, it's Omniscience meets As Foretold meets
Future Sight.
Meets Future Sight. It's really cool. I think this card is awesome, and I want to find a home for it because I really love it. But I think we're just in the D+ again, where it's like there's better options than this card overall. You're not really looking to play this, but if you're playing a big, giant, blue, splashy deck, I can see this being fun.
Yeah, we're still in the beginning, middle, or the beginning area of this set review. So somebody please count how many times they just slap once per turn on these cards.
Yeah, there's been at least 3.
That's already. I think that's the 3rd one.
Yeah.
So keep track for us because we'll be interested to know. Teferi, Temporal Pilgrim is not that good. He's 3 blue blue for a 4 loyalty. Teferi, whenever you draw a card, he gets another loyalty. 0, draw a card. -2, you get a 2/2 vigilance that gets counters when you draw cards. And then -12 is like the weirdest thing ever. Somebody returns one of their permanents, and then you shuffle all the other non-land permanents, but it's only one player. So I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it's really strange. It kind of like board wipes one target player, kind of puts them way behind and out of the game. Teferi's fine, and I love the design here, but I don't think it's very good. I just give it a D. It's a Planeswalker and Commander, and it's not one of the better ones.
I'd probably just give it an F. I don't know when I'm ever going to play this thing.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I think it's not unplayable. I think it's fair to give it a D, but I can see why you give it an F. Next, we have Urza's Command, 2 blue blue for an instant. Choose 2. Creatures you don't control get -2/-0 until your next turn. Create a tapped Power Stone. Create a tapped 0/0 colorless construct artifact creature token with this creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control, or scry 1, then draw a card.
So it does replace itself.
Yes, it does always replace itself. I like that it makes a construct. Those are fairly powerful in the right decks. I think Power Stones are poop, and I do like the bailout, kind of a fog thing to protect you from maybe an alpha swing.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be putting this in Brutaclad, and it's scry 1, draw a card, make a construct.
Yeah, I think if your deck likes constructs, that's where this card goes, right? I'm making the new Urza, the
Affinity Dadbot Urza.
I'm making Dadbot Urza, and so with Dadbot Urza, I think I'm going to put this card in because I think I want as many ways to make those constructs. Those are going to be the win con for the deck.
Constructs are good.
They're no joke. They're really are a legitimate win con for this deck. I give this a D+. Maybe I'll move it up. You know what? C- because I think this card is playable.
I think C- is better.
In the right decks.
Yeah, I like that better. The Temporal Anchor, 3 blue, blue, blue. This thing kind of reminds me of that Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories pod thing. At the beginning of your upkeep, scry 2. Whenever you choose to put 1 or more cards in the bottom of your library, while scrying, exile that many cards from the bottom of your library. During your turn, you can play cards exiled with this thing.
It's really, really weird card. It turns all your scries into basically draws if you want them to be, but only if you want them to be. Really, really, really weird card.
I love the design. I think it's really cool. It's weird. It's cool to have a card outside of the set, in the set, where it's this is happening on Dominaria in the present day, but we're on Dominaria in the past.
Yeah, the Temporal Anchor, the only deck I can think of that would put it in is Elminster. It's the only deck.
Elegeth, maybe?
Not even Elegeth, because Elegeth is doesn't want you to scry anything about because he turns your scries into draws.
But yeah, so you scry, you just draw 2. This thing, the upside is, maybe you get to draw 2. It's well, I'll just draw 2.
Yeah, I guess, and it also makes all your cards that usually scry do something, so that's a good function for it.
There we go. We figured it out. It's got a D.
Yeah, it's got a D. It's a fine card, but it's not that good. Next, we have a 7-mana card. It is Teresian Mindbreaker, and whenever it attacks, defending player mills half their library rounded up and has Unearth for 1 blue, blue, blue. It's a 6/4. This card goes in exactly one deck, the mill deck, and it's fine there. Bruvok, I'd give it like a D+. It's totally fine in exactly Bruvok or any other mill deck. Other than that, just avoid it.
What's the Unearth cost?
The Unearth is 1 blue, blue, blue.
All right, that's cool. I probably just want to do that and treat it like a weird sorcery.
Yeah, you want to discard. You want to use your draw discard stuff to put this in the graveyard.
Yeah, let's go to black cards. We got Fateful Handoff, 3 and a black for a sorcery. You draw cards equal to the mana value of target artifact or creature you control, and opponent gains control of that permanent.
This thing is a D-, but it has some random fits where you can just kind of give away those bad cards that you might be playing in your deck to like have fun. A Blim deck is going to love this card because it lets you just give away something and then draw cards for no reason.
Yeah, give away Lich's Mirror and then attack them for a bunch.
Yeah, exactly. So even though this is a bad card, it has a home in some Blim decks, exactly. Up next, Gix Command, and it is 3 black for a sorcery. Choose 2, put 2+1/+1 counters on up to 1 creature. It gains lifelink until end of turn. Destroy each creature with power 2 or less. Return up to 2 target creatures from your graveyard to your hand. Each player sacrifices a creature with the highest power among creatures they control.
Oh, each player?
It's opponent. Sorry.
Each opponent. Okay, that's the bailout.
Yes.
You get a 3 for 1.
Yes, you do. This card gets you a 5 for 1. That's what I kind of like about it. It's not broken. It's not busted. It kind of melds in with all like these other high power removal spells.
Yeah, sorcery speed commands. Boo.
It is a little sad, but what this thing does give you is you get your 2 best creatures from your graveyard to your hand, and you remove some of the biggest threats on the battlefield. You're going to get a huge tempo swing and mana advantage from this card. I gave it a C. Test it out. The sorcery speed is obviously a big drawback, and it's what I would give this card a B easily if it was an instant because it does a lot.
It can be a weird pseudo board wipe if you wipe out all the tokens, all the dumb utility creatures, and then boom, your biggest thing.
Yeah, I mean, you could even, and the silly lifelink thing can just be good for like, you need a life swing. All right, put 2 counters on my commander, swing in.
Yeah, I think it's probably fine. It looks worse than it is, I think. Let's go to Gixian Puppeteer. 3 and a black for a 4/3. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, each opponent loses 2 and you gain 2. And then when this thing dies, you just get to reanimate a creature with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. I don't know what this card is. Like, this is the most cobbled together random text box I've ever seen, but it's probably pretty good. It's probably fine.
What I like about this card specifically is if you can find the deck that actually cares about all its abilities, it does it pretty well. Like, the fact that you get something back from your graveyard after this thing dies makes it a lot better. Like,
it's a 2 for 1.
It's never leaving you with nothing in. You're getting in, like, the creatures you're playing that cost 3 or less in Commander in your deck are worth getting back. So
yeah, like a Dauthi Voidwalker or something.
A Pawn of Ulamog. There's so many very strong creatures that this thing can get back. If you can find a deck that wants to do this drawing 2 cards thing, it's actually a pretty good card.
Yeah, I still think it's a D+.
Oh, yeah.
But some decks are going to like it.
It's not,
some very, very specific decks are going to like it.
Definitely not a busted card. Next, we have Hostile Negotiations. 3 and a black for an instant. Exile the top 3 cards of your library in a face-down pile. Then, exile the top 3 cards of your library in another face-down pile. Look at the cards in each pile. Then, turn a pile of your choice face up. An opponent chooses one of those piles, put that pile into your hand and the other into your graveyard. Lose 3. This is a good Magic card.
Factor fiction, but black.
Yes, I started off at a B- because one of the things about this, why Factor Fiction is better is the color it's in. You're looking to usually play a heavier amount of creatures in your black decks, but this card is still very good. Period. You do lose life, but you're not going to care about that 90% of the time. This is an instant. It has everything going for it to be a great Magic card.
It even has the same political value, but you can't do the 5/0 piles, but you can say, need a board wipe? Here it is. Give me this pile right now.
Very much so. I just think this card is good, period. That's where I'm at. Like, it's a good Magic card. Started at a B-. It might be better. Could be a little worse, but I don't see it going much below a C+.
Misery Shadow. It's 1 and a black for a 2/2, so it's just a bear. But if a creature an opponent controls would die, yeah, exile instead. And generic, it gives +1/+1. Weird decision on that. I don't know why that's there, but this is like going to be a 12-cent version of Dauthi Voidwalker. So I think it might be okay. There's a 0% chance it has synergy with your deck.
Yeah, very true. It's some graveyard hate. It is in mono black. We do have a 1-mana version of this, but that's a green.
Yeah, Valentine.
It's a black-green card. So this one just goes in your black decks. It's okay. I don't think it's busted. Just a solid D passable card that will fit in some Commander decks.
Yeah, but I think a lot of the times you're going to you're going to play this card, and then you're going to wonder 2 turns from now, man, why do I only have 3 cards in my hands? Like, because you played this.
Yeah, and this one, it just did nothing. Next, we have Phyrexian Fleshgorger, which is a cool card, but a bad card. 7 mana, artifact, creature, Phyrexian Worm. It's a 7/5. If you cast it for its regular cost, it's got Menace and Lifelink, and it's got Ward, pay life equal to its power. Or you can cast it for its prototype cost, which means that you can cast this card. If you cast it for its prototype cost, it has a different power toughness. In this case, it's a 3/3.
For 1 black?
For 1 black.
So, like,
F.
I don't know. I like, it seems like an F. It's going to feel probably pretty good if you can either connect with this or make somebody pay 7 life, but it's a lot of mana, and it's not breaking any ground with new territory.
Yeah, I just think this card, it's a 3/3 for 3 with Menace and Lifelink is
nothing.
That's nothing in Commander, and I think the 7/5 is just overcost. I think it's a cool card, and I wanted to mention it, but I think it's very bad.
Tericier's Devastation, I think. Let's go with that. X 2 black for a sorcery. You lose X and you make X tapped Power Stones. Then all creatures get -1/-1 until end of turn for each artifact you control. So this is, on its face value, the X is kind of meaningless. This is just mutilate for artifacts. So a lot of your stuff maybe survives. Maybe you don't have a lot. Maybe you just have a bunch of artifacts in play. Or maybe you have a lot of artifacts and you have big creatures like, I don't know. But you're blowing stuff up, and you could just store up like 5 Power Stones if you got nothing better to do. The board's going to get reset anyway.
Yeah, this card is super interesting, and I think it's completely fine. It might be some decks, this might be their go-to board wipes. Overall, we have better board wipes, and I think maybe this might be a budget card. Outside of that, D, it's a passable, okay Magic card.
Yeah, I just kept trying to find a way for this to be one-sided, and it's just not going to be one-sided. You have a bunch of artifacts, and all your stuff's dead.
The saddest thing about it is that no matter how big your constructs are...
That's what I was thinking. I was like, at least, no.
Your constructs always die. It kills your constructs.
Lame.
So super sad.
But, let's give it, D+?
D. I just gave it a D, which is fine. This next card is, what if they made Skull Clamp, but it was a fair Magic card?
That's probably not as good.
It's not even close to as good. Transmogrant's Crown. It is 2 mana for an equipment. It can equip for 2, or it can equip for a black, meaning this can only go in black decks. Equipped creature gets +2/+0, and whenever equipped creature dies, you draw a card.
+0. Boo.
This is really, legitimately, this looks like a fair Skull Clamp. That's all it makes me think of is like, hey, this is what the card would look like if it was fair. C-. It's a fine, okay card that if you want a Skull Clamp in your deck, but you don't want to actually play Skull Clamp, this is a decent card.
I'll probably bump it up to a C+. With free stack out in play, you're not going to really notice that doesn't give -1. So you just, I got Viscera Seer, I'll kill 3 tokens and draw 3 cards.
Yeah, exactly. And if you have to be in a black deck already, so you're probably just paying black to equip this. I imagine you're never paying 2 generic.
Wire Surgeons, 4 black for a 6/5 with Fear. Each artifact creature card in your graveyard has Encore. The Encore cost is equal to its mana cost. Oh, that's a lot of value.
It's so cool. The only thing I don't like about this is that it's artifact. I could have just made this card be all creatures in your graveyard have Encore. And that would have been a cool, awesome card. It feels completely fair, but no. Sadly, it has to be only artifacts. I gave it a D. It's a sweet and cool card that'll get you a ton of value.
I'll throw a C- at it. I can see some pretty powerful turns with I'll get out Foundry Inspector. Then I'll get out something else, and then it's like, well, I have a bunch of mana to use, and I'll cast it, and it's like, it seems pretty good.
Yeah, it seems like a decent card. I'm on D. BZ, you said D+?
No, C-.
Oh, C-. You're higher than me. Okay, cool. Next, we have Blast Furnace Hellkite, 7 red for a 5/5. It has flying and double strike. It has Artifact Offering, which means you can sacrifice an artifact as you cast it, and it costs that much less, where that's the mana value of the sacrificed artifact. Creatures attacking your opponents have double strike. I give this card a C. I think it is a very specific and is pretty niche. You need to have a good artifact count in your deck to sacrifice to get this thing out. But it does not mess around. Every single attack going at your opponents is just double strike. And that is going to be a lot of damage added by this card.
I mean, if you throw a sad robot under the bus, what does this cost?
What does it cost? It costs 5.
5. That's not bad.
Yeah, exactly. So you can you toss your sad robot, draw a card, get this thing out. It's not only everything attacking your opponents is double strike, including your creatures, and it's a 10-point life swing in the air every single turn it gets to attack.
I like this guy. I want to go C+.
C+? I'm fine with C+.
Red and artifacts get along pretty well already.
Yeah, red is a heavy artifact deck. So yeah, I think I can agree with that. C+ for Blast Furnace Hellkite.
Brotherhood's End, 1 red for a sorcery. Let's make this card again. Let's deal 3 to each creature and each planeswalker. Or You can just draw artifacts of mana value 3 or less, which is very interesting because that's pretty much every mana rock.
Yeah, that's going to destroy a lot of artifacts on the battlefield. In every token one that we see, like all the Power Stones, all the treasures, all the constructs, those are all going to die from this. And I think this card is actually pretty decent. I give it a D+. It's a card I'd like to test. If it's going to be relevant to deal 3 once in a while, which it usually is, then this card can actually be pretty good because it's a pseudo board wipe that, it's not that great, but it's okay. And then sometimes it's going to be like, all right, get those artifacts out of here.
Yeah, the one thing that might be an issue is I don't know what deck is playing this that doesn't have artifacts.
That's that's a fair point. Yeah,
it's like green-red. Are you playing this in green-red?
And I'm also avoiding because when I play white or green, I avoid to destroy artifact stuff. So I would just avoid this card in that case. Next, we have Mishra's Command. X in a red, choose target player. They may discard up to X cards, then draw cards for each card discarded this way. This spell deals X damage to target creature. This spell deals X damage to target planeswalker, or target creature gets +X/+O and gains haste until end of turn.
And the speed of the spell is?
This is a sorcery.
Ooh.
It is a big boo, and the planeswalker mode is basically nothing. The looting mode, not getting my card back by adding the +1 makes
what the heck, Mishra?
I think it makes it absolutely terrible. The haste part of the +X/+O seems like it's never ever going to be relevant. I'm very low on this card. I'm just going to give it a D- and move on.
I don't even know what part of this is appealing, so I'm just going to throw an F.
Sure.
I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this.
It's a pretty bad Magic
It gives
card.
me no inspiration for anything. Over the top, I think this is one of the worst named Magic cards of all time, but it's 5 red for each player reveals a number of cards from the top of their library equal to the number of non-land permanents they control, puts them all into play, and then puts the rest into their graveyard, and it's a sorcery. Super sweet effect, despite being a dumb name.
Yeah, this card I think is a D-. I don't think it's very good. It's definitely not a card you can just throw in any deck, but I think there is specifically going to be a niche for playing this in a deck and building a deck to take advantage of it because it is a strong over-the-top effect. If you just play things that put dumb tokens into play.
Power Stones
over and over again. I believe there's literally something called, I think there's a scrap token in the set where it literally doesn't do anything.
Really?
It's just an artifact token called like scrap.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, so like you can just build up any number of dumb things on your battlefield, then boom, play this, you can just win the game.
Field of the Dead Zombies. Yeah, this is going to be a win condition for sure. So this is like, we're saying D-, but it's actually either crap and you shouldn't play it, or it's like one of the best cards in your deck.
Build around C+.
Build around A.
build around B, sure. Yeah. Next, we have Sardine Avenger. It sounds like he's avenging sardines.
He is.
1 and a red for a 1/1. First strike, trample one of the attacks. It gets +X/+O until end of turn, where X is the number of artifacts your opponents control. That can be a very large number. This thing can attack pretty big. And whenever an artifact an opponent controls is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to that player.
So watch out, treasures. You're getting taxed a little bit.
Yeah, that's why I put this here, is because I think people really care about the treasure taxing. This thing also attacks pretty large with first strike and trample. Its biggest weakness is it dies to everything. It has 1 toughness. A Yawgmoth's going to pick it off all day, every day. But I could see this thing taking for 10+ like every other turn.
Yep, just don't be surprised that you have 3 cards in your hand 2 turns after this is in play.
Exactly. It's just one of those cards that's like, what did it do for me? I mean, play it in the Goblin.
Just damage, yeah.
Play it in the Goblin deck where it actually has some more synergy with your deck.
Visions of Phyrexia, 2 red, and I kind of like this card. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile top card of your library. You can play it this turn. At the beginning of your end step, if you didn't play something this turn, you get a Power Stone that's tapped. So that's one of the problems with these cards is they don't do anything for you right away. Oh, here's a free Power Stone.
Something I really, really like about this card, honestly, is that this is the second version of this where we get to play the lands.
Thank you.
Yes. 4 mana. It's just exactly like what is
Outpost Siege.
But we get something if we don't play the card, and we can play the lands. So many of these other versions wouldn't let you play the lands, and they always sucked. I'm in on this card. I love it. I love it for your Prosper decks, and I love it for your Faldorn decks. Those 2 decks, I think this card is perfect for.
I'm pretty sure this is going to replace Outpost Siege in my Svella deck because Svella loves Power Stones.
Yes, Svella does love Power Stones. That's very, very. If you ever mana, Power Stones are very powerful if you have an activated ability on your commander.
Yeah, you don't have to play this big artifact deck. Just suck them up and use them all towards your activated ability.
Ooh, we're moving on to green, and I think green was the winner of this set. If I had to pick
surprise,
one color that was the winner from this set, it is green. First card we got is Awaken the Woods. X, green, create X 1/1 green forest dryad land creature tokens. Woo!
Awesome.
Wow, this card is so good. If you have any landfall synergy on the battlefield, when you cast this card, it is going to absolutely pop off. It can be draw cards. It can be make tokens. It can be make treasures.
Yeah, Lotus Cobra and Tyler's Provisioner just make this spell cost 2 mana.
They cost nothing, essentially. Yeah, this card pops off. It is your landfall decks will absolutely love this. I imagine every single AC deck, every single Tatiova deck, every single Omnath deck is just slamming this in there.
Oh yeah, if you play AC in this, I'll quit.
Yeah, I mean it's tough not to just win with this.
I'm
card.
done.
It is incredible. It is super strong. Requires a lot of synergy because you don't just want to do this with no synergy. But if you have the synergy, oof,
all you need is like Fires of Yavimaya or Concordic Crossroads, and the spell costs GG by itself.
Very, very true.
You don't even need anything else. Like this spell is real good.
Yes, and I'm a big fan of this next one actually.
Yeah, it's Fade from History. It's got a bunch of bears on it. Two green for a sorcery. Each player who controls an artifact or enchantment makes a 2/2 bear. Then you destroy all artifacts or enchantments. It's not like, oh, you make a bunch of bears. Watch out, you're going to get attacked by bears. Everybody just gets one, and then they all go away.
Yes, I think this card is just very good, period. I think it is the best version in green now that we've gotten of destroy all artifacts and enchantments on the battlefield.
Do you like this better than Bane of Progress?
I do. Bane of Progress is a cool card, but it is overcosted. It is 6 mana.
I think the fact that it's a creature makes me like it better because you just can't find this card in a green deck ever.
That is very true. You can't tutor it up, but I will say I'm going to be playing this. If I don't have synergies, which some of my decks don't have synergies with Bane of Progress, this card, I really want this card over Bane of Progress when I don't have those synergies.
Yeah, if you're not like toolboxing or something, get the bears.
Agreed. I think this is a very good Magic card. Be just solid. Play that like if you needed a way. My deck was my Jund deck was lacking a way to wipe all artifacts and enchantments, and now we have it. It's here. Use it. I can't wait to get this card into my deck using Moxfield.com because I can just throw them right into my deck directly. They've been on there since they were spoiled. Literally, the day they were spoiled, they were up on Moxfield and you can throw them in decks. Sure, it says they're not legal, but that's good to know. It's good to know they're not legal yet because Moxfield keeping you up to date with that stuff.
And when you search for all these cards, you're not going to get any of the cards outside your commander's color identity, which is just fantastic. And the thing that I learned the other day that I've never even known before is that Moxfield keeps track of all the cards you ever add and cut from your deck. So if you go expand down there, you just get to see what you've added before. It's like, oh, I added this and I cut it before 6 months ago. Great. I'm not going to add it again because I know it doesn't work. Just Moxfield's blowing my mind every day.
Every day, Moxfield has a new feature.
That was already there and we didn't even know.
It doesn't matter that we discover,
yeah,
or that was there, or that they made.
They're OP.
How many features do you think Moxfield has? A trillion?
A bazillion?
A jillion? Moving on, we have Root Path Purifier, and is 3 and a green for a 3/4. Lands you control and land cards in your library are basics. Now, this is a really, really cool card. I want to say one thing. A lot of the good ramp cards get forest out of your deck. We've talked about that.
You have to give up. That's what I thought this was interesting. You have to give up ramp. You have to make your ramp worse for a card that's 1 in the 99, but you're not going to draw every time. This is like, I don't think it's as busted as everybody keeps going on about.
It's not busted. It is very good, though.
Yeah, this is good.
This card it is a build around. It's a C+. I think this card really will perform well because, like, what's going to happen is it's going to turn all your ramp into it's always your best land. Every time you cast a ramp spell, it's your best land. And that's going to be incredibly powerful in the right decks. Easy C+, very good Magic card.
Yeah, what I might do, I think a C+ is right. What I might do is move away from the fetch lands, which do not help with this at all. Like Verdant Catacombs, not going to get you any land. It's going to get you a forest or a swamp. I would want, like, all right, Prismatic Vista, Fable Passage, get in there, because that's what's going to get you the any land.
Yes, very true. I'm just a big fan of Root Path Purifier.
I think it's really cool. It's so cool. I'm just a little bit
definitely 10 out of 10
tired
cool.
of hearing about it.
Yeah, I agree with you. What do we have next?
All right, Titania's Command, 4 green for a sorcery. I actually like this one, even though it's a sorcery. Exile target player's graveyard. You gain 1 life for each card exiled this way. Search your library for 2 lands. Put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle, which also creates 2/2 zombies when you get Field of the Dead. And create 2/2 green bears, which we don't need because we just made zombies. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on each creature you control. Now we're getting somewhere.
This card is good, period. One, we've talked about we want more graveyard hate in our decks. This one just has a staple on as gravy.
You don't have to use it.
And on top of that, the life gain is not a minimal amount. It can gain you like 20 life when you're playing against decks that are putting cards in their graveyard. That can be a lot of life that is actually relevant to the game. The lands, best mode here, not even close.
That's the main. You have to use that plus something every time.
Always get a Field of the Dead and something else to go with it. Probably a fetch land just so you can fetch up an extra Field of the Dead trigger. And I'm a big fan of, if you're a go wide deck, a tokens deck or something like that, go ahead. Put 2 counters on your team. Bears are whatever. That's the Fallback, I don't really have anything else to do mode, but all the other modes, great, really strong.
Yeah, just keep in mind that like when you go get 2 lands off of Field of the Dead and try to put 2 counters, you don't get the counters on the zombies.
Very true, that is true, but I wouldn't worry about that too much. This card is just
It's amazing. Field of the Dead changes this entire card.
It does. It really, really does.
Turns out that card is good, and we weren't crazy 2 years ago when we started.
It's funny because we talk about Field of the Dead, but realistically, if with all these cards, we're talking about like the Root, whatever, the Purifier, and this, these 2 cards. The real card that is really troublesome with them is Gaia's Cradle.
Gaia's Cradle, when it is printed as a stupid, gold border proxy, it'll get banned real quick, especially now.
Yeah, let's ban it.
Cabal Coffers is another one you can get.
Here's another card BZ's a big fan of. It is Haywire Might, 1 mana for a 1/1. When it dies, you gain 2 life. You can pay a green, sacrifice it, exile target non-creature artifact or non-creature enchantments.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Cost of Caterpillar I already thought was great. This gains you 2 life. It's cheaper to activate, and it exiles. And the only thing you're giving up is, like, you can't hit duplicates or Nyxwomb Ancients.
It's very... Yeah, it definitely does give up something. There will be situations where this is worse than Cost of Caterpillar, but it's still a very strong card. I'm at the C+ where it's like, this is hanging out. This is hanging out. The Cost of Caterpillar and the Rex Sage, they're all kind of just hanging out in the C+ area where they're all good
love
cards.
This card. I'm so excited to play it.
They're all good cards. I do like that we actually get this one, sacrifice this out and exile. So it's weird because usually they would say you sacrifice this to exile.
Or you exile to exile.
Yeah, exactly. So this one is actually pretty cool.
Card's great. You should probably be playing it. If you have 6 commander decks that are green, you should probably be playing this.
At least 1, yeah. If not 2. What do we have for the next one?
Oh, we got Perennial Behemoth. It's 5 mana, 2/7. You can play lands from your graveyard and unearths for GG. This is like totally fine. I don't know. This is way worse than ramming up Excavator, obviously. The unearth is like a weird ramp spell because I think if you're going to miss a land drop, you just go whoop, boop, didn't miss one.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this card. It's the worst version of this I think we've seen where you can play lands from, like you said, ramming up Excavator, much better than this. Crucible Worlds. I just want to play those 2 first. I'd even rather play the 6 mana one that gives you double landfall triggers.
I mean, Life from Alone.
There's just so many better versions of this card. This is a D-, I think. I think it is. It can play well. It can be good in the right deck, but there are better options. All right, on to multicolored, and we have Death Bloom Ritualist, 3 black-green for a 3/5, and you tap it to add X mana of any one color to your mana pool, where X is the number of creatures in your graveyard. I don't think this card is that great.
That's a lot of mana.
But it can be a lot of mana. This is like a D+. It's a really, really cool card that I would love to try in a deck, but overall I'm not.
You know what this is, right? It's the Lord of Extinction of Mana Dorks. It's just so over the top, and you'd rather just have something a little cheaper.
Very true, yeah. It's cool. It is cool, though.
It'll mess people up. Legions to Ashes, 1 white, black. Exile target non-land permanent and opponent controls. And all tokens that player controls that have the same name? I don't even know what this is referring to. Did I miss something?
No, it can get like all Power Stones, basically.
I don't get it. I don't know. This is kind of like a sorcery speed Anguish I'm making.
It's Vindicate. It's very, very similar to Vindicate. It's a C. Vindicate's not a bad card. This is not a bad card.
We just never play them.
We don't end up playing them. And like when you play this, you will not feel much of a difference from Anguish making often. But it is definitively worse than Anguish making.
Well, I would say Vindicate you wouldn't notice too much. But like I'll notice the sorcery speed.
Yeah,
you do notice that. It's like, oof, I have to do this now. I might not have.
Yeah, it makes a difference. It's not the best card, but it's also not terrible.
It's playable. I won't make fun of you if you play it.
Maybe this was the answer to Ob Nixilis if it was too powerful for standard.
Got him. They were like, we don't know.
Yeah. Next we have Saheeli Filigree Master, 2 blue red for a 3 loyalty planeswalker. Plus scry 1. You may tap an untapped artifact you control. If you do, draw a card. Okay. -2, create 2 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature tokens with flying. They gain haste until end of turn.
Okay.
And -4, you get emblem with artifacts. Creatures you control get +1/+1, and artifact spells you cast cost 1 less to cast.
This card is cool.
This card is really cool. I started it off pretty low at a C-. It can ult very fast. All you have to do is 1 turn of it not getting attacked. That's a reasonable thing to ask in Commander, especially if you play this out on turn, let's say, 3 or 4 early. 3 would be really awesome. If you can go like any 2-mana rock into this, it's going to feel chef's kiss, like super, super strong.
Yeah, I like this card. I was surprised when you said starting out low because C- is very high for Planeswalkers. Most of them get Fs. I think this card's pretty sweet. I want to play Flux Channeler and then just play this and play some cantrip and just ultimate it right away. Forget the waiting. I don't want to.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, so this card is cool. C-. I think it's fair for Saheeli.
Okay, this card is cool. Sarenth Great Worm, 4 green-red for a 7/6 trample. Whenever a land enters the battlefield anywhere, you get a tapped Power Stone. That's a lot of Power Stones.
Oh, God, I think this card is bad.
It's so cool. I don't know if it's good. It's just cool.
I mean, Power Stones, there is a potential for them to be better than I think. Right now, I had it at F, but I'll give it a D-. So I would give this a D-. I'm not excited to play this card. There are so many better 6-drops that I'd rather be playing in my deck.
I don't know. See, I'm not really looking at the Power Stones. I'm looking at like a permanent enters the battlefield, an artifact enters the battlefield. Like you get triggers, you carry, you bump up other stuff. This thing seems pretty sweet to me, and I hope everyone hates it so I can put it in my Budget Spell deck.
What's your grade for it?
I would probably start out at a C- because I think this is going to do something.
All right, D- from me, C- from BZ. We can see what this card. It could play better than I think.
I just think the permanence being anything is what is useful.
I'm always open to being wrong. We always say that here. Next, we have Third Path Iconoclast, which is totally not a word, and it
not
is
a real word.
Blue red for a 2/1, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you get a 1/1 colorless soldier artifact creature token.
They just upgraded Young Peasy.
It's Young Peasy in blue red, C+, very strong card.
Totally fine. It's going to see playing a bunch of decks.
We already know Young Pyromancer is a good card. This one triggers off of non-artifacts, not non-artifacts.
Yeah, you can play a rock and trigger it.
Yeah, you can play rocks and trigger it.
All right, we got artifacts. We're going to fly through these bad boys. We got Blade Coil Serpent X6 for a 5/4. For each blue spent to cast it, you draw a card. For each black spent to cast it, each opponent discards a card. And for each red spent to cast it, it gets +1/+0 and gains trample and haste until end of turn. Not sure what I'm supposed to do with these. This is like a... realistically, I want to play black, blue, and then I get like a 3-for-1 or like a 6-for-1 or something, but it's just a little weird.
And you can always throw more mana into it because it just throws the X in there so you can...
Yeah, it's also like Grixis. What am I playing this in?
Yeah, I think this card is really cool design, a really awesome card, but it's overall bad.
I think it could be brutal because like mind rotting each opponent, drawing a card, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
but it's just I don't know where I'm supposed to play this. I have no idea.
The issue with it after that is that what did you get with it? It's like, so that card was okay that you played. That 6-mana card, it better come with a good body. Nope.
5/4?
5/4 for 6? Not such a good card. D-.
It seems fine.
Pretty good. This next card is really cool, but I don't think it's super great. It's Cityscape Leveler, and it's an 8-mana 8/8 with trample, and whenever you cast this spell, and whenever it attacks, destroy up to one target non-land permanent. Its controller creates a tapped Power Stone token and it unearths for 8. I really think this card is just sweet. I think if you're playing stupid Meteor Golem in your deck, just take it out for this. I really think it's a 1-for-1 replacement.
We finally did it. We beat Meteor Golem, so I like D+ for that.
Yeah, D+. I don't think it's not broken, it's not busted, but it's really cool.
Let's see play. Hexavus for the rest of us. It's 6 mana for a 0/0. Enters battlefield with 6 +1/+1 counters. Yeah, we're doing this card again. 1, remove a counter from it. You put a flying counter on another target creature, or 1, remove a counter from it. Put a +1/+1 counter on it. All right.
This card is so weird, but it does have potential to go infinite in some situations.
Right, because you remove a counter and put a counter, and if you have like a hard scales, well, already you're just paying 1 to put a counter on it, so there's some stuff to do.
Yeah, you can definitely get this to go infinite. You can just give all your creatures flying. It's an interesting card. Is it broken? No, but it's cool for an artifact +1/+1 counters deck.
Yeah. It's very specific. I like it as what? D+? D+.
Zabaz likes this card.
Zabaz. Whoa, baby. Whoa, baby.
Whoa, baby. All right, next we have Liberator, Urza's Battle Thopter. It's 3 mana for a 1/2 with flying and flash. You may cast colorless spells and artifact spells as though they had flash, and whenever you cast the spell, if the amount of mana spent to cast that spell is greater than Liberator's power, put a +1/+1 counter on Liberator.
Yep, card just seems good. It's got flying, which is relevant. Unlike Shimmer Mirror, this is actually going to connect, so you can get the Monarchy or the Initiative or whatever, or just take out a Planeswalker or something.
This is better Shimmer Mirror. That really is what it is. Like,
There's more words. It's all just fancy nonsense.
if you were playing Shimmer Mirror in your deck, I would just cut it for this every single time. C-, passable, playable card. Also, it is an interesting commander. We will talk about it later.
But for now, we're going to talk about Scavenged Brawlers. 6 mana for a 4/4. Flying, Vigilance, Trample, Lifelink. Oh boy. 5, exile it from your graveyard. Choose target creature. Put 4 counters, a flying counter, a vigilance counter, a trample counter, and a lifelink counter on it. A sorcery speed. Huh. That's a lot of words.
It's a lot of counters.
It's big-ish. At least it flies. It can gain you some life. It's like an 8-point life swing if it connects. And you just make a creature huge.
This thing is actually pretty decent, I think. I think that the body isn't that great. I think it's something that
I want to mill it.
You want to mill it. You want to get in your graveyard. But it can really pump something up. Like, it is, like... Make any creature almost on the battlefield a legitimate threat. Your 1/1 is going to be a 5/5 with all of those keywords. That is basically just not going to be blockable. Now, if you're playing Skullbriar, forget about it. This card is a perfect Skullbriar card.
No! I'm taking apart my Skullbriar deck.
It's a perfect Skullbriar card. This card is a C-. It's good, passable. Play it with more graveyard synergies. Mill this card, discard this card, and then get all that value from it.
And then read Portal to Phyrexia.
Yes, and then Portal to Phyrexia is 9 mana for an artifact. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent sacrifices 3 creature. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a creature from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. It's a Phyrexian in addition to its other types.
I love this card.
It is super cool. I think it's middle of the road, very medium C. But if you're one of those, I think your Goblin Welder decks, this is a great go-to for the Goblin Welder targets to put on the battlefield.
I think it's going to be a B, because in the decks that are Goblin Weldering and like tutoring for it and reanimating it and Duretting it, this is going to be the most miserable. Like, you're going to hate it.
Wow, interesting.
You're not going to keep anything on the battlefield.
Yeah, maybe you're right about that.
It's like, yoink, take your Grave Titan. Yoink, take your Emrakul. I don't know.
Interesting. I mean, this card looks like a C to me, very middle of the road, like just another high cost. Is it cool? Yes. Is it strong? Fairly strong, but I don't think it's much of a B. I'm
sweet.
I'm on C for this card.
I think it's going to be like the combat meta artifact finisher, Tinker target.
Sure. Fair enough. Well, not that Tinker's legal.
You know what I mean. The Stasis Coffin is bad. 3 mana for an artifact. 2 tap, exile it. You gain protection from everything until your next turn. They're really just trying to make this look as appealing as possible. This is purely defense. It's not even hidden information. I hate it.
I'm on F for this one too. I think it looks cool. I think it's a very cool card. I'm wondering what it does lore-wise. I haven't read much of the lore.
You know what this is? This is going to be ready for the deep cuts. In Saw, 5 or whatever, Hoffman falls into the coffin and then he gets protection from everything, and then the other guy gets squished by the walls. That's you if you play this card.
I was thinking that maybe they might use the Stasis Coffin and bring Urza to the future. That was my thought.
That'd be stupid.
I agree it would be stupid.
They could. I would hate it.
I'm not arguing with that at all.
It's a good theory. Unfortunately, I don't want it to be a good theory.
Next, we have Symmetry Matrix. Actually, it's probably already in the story. Somebody tell us what the coffin does.
Yeah, we're done with the story, right?
I don't know. I haven't read it. Symmetry Matrix is 4 mana for an artifact. Whenever a creature with power equal to its toughness enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay 1 if you do draw a card. I think this is a D, but I think that we're eventually going... Is there a commander that cares about things having the same power and toughness?
There's the Symmetry guy from Strixhaven.
Yeah.
That doesn't do anything.
Once we get a commander that actually cares about this stuff, hey, I mean, this is going to be
I've been telling Joe, we already have that. Any token deck. Sure. Anytime you make a bunch of stupid 1/1s, you can be like, oh, okay, I'll draw a bunch of cards. It's like Lifecrafter's Bestiary for tokens.
Yeah, it's totally fine. It's a fair...
I think I'll give it a D+ then.
D+, fine card.
Next, we got lands. Demolition Field is one of them, and this card is pretty great, despite looking like Field of Ruin. It is Field of Ruin. Do I have to read this card? Do I have to read it? It's Field of Ruin, but it's only for one person and one person. So you don't ramp your opponents. You destroy their thing. They get a basic. You get your basic back. Super sweet. After Strip Mine and Wasteland, I'm pretty excited to play this. Goodbye, Ghost Quarter. I'm not playing that card anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So this is obviously Strip Mine is the best. Wasteland is second best. I think it's his third best. I got it at B-. It's
great.
It is very good, and it's going to be great on a budget. It will be the go-to. If you don't have Strip Mine, if you don't have Wasteland,
this is it.
This is it. And I know that a lot of people talk about it doesn't make you lose a land, so I like it more. If you're not into losing a land with Strip Mine and Wasteland, this does have that upside of getting you your land back.
Yeah, definitely pick up 10 of this card because it'll cost nothing, and you don't have to worry about it going up or being hard to find. And you're going to love it. You're going to play it a bunch of times.
Yeah. Next, we have Fortified Beachhead, which this set just decided randomly to have a soldier theme.
Beachhead?
Beachhead. Yeah.
Sounds like a name you're calling somebody.
Fortified Beachhead. As it enters the battlefield, you may reveal a soldier from your hand. It enters the battlefield tapped unless you reveal the soldier card, or you control a soldier.
I don't get this card.
It makes a white, it makes a blue, and you can pay 5 to give your soldiers +1/+1. It's a B for exactly soldier decks,
Blue-white soldiers.
which is the thing that they focused on. Is a blue-white for limited is soldiers.
For this set and no other set, here you go.
Yeah, it's
It's weird, but it's fine. It can't be bad in a soldier deck. It literally just can't be
It's
bad.
a great card in a soldier deck.
Yeah. Urza's Workshop. It's a land, Urza's, so this is Tronable, I guess, right? Tap, add Wingding, and then Metalcraft, tap, add Wingding for each Urza's land you control. Activate only if you control 3 more artifacts. That's pretty easy to do. You're going to be all about those artifacts. This makes the Tron lands a little bit more appealing.
It does. I think this card's still an F. I think the Tron lands are absolutely not something you should be going to.
Oh, I don't know. In colorless decks, though, because now in colorless decks, they're all just wastes. They don't have any downside. But this one says sometimes it'll just tap for 4 mana or 2 mana. Even if it taps for 2, that's pretty sweet.
It's so unlikely. How often are you actually assembling any of these?
You don't have to assemble anything. It's just like, hey, if you got 3 artifacts and Urza's Mine laying around, you just have Ancient Tomb.
Sure. What do you think? What do you give it a grade? Because I've given it enough. I think
I would give it a. You know what? If stupid Fortifying Beachline gets a B, I'm going to give this a B.
no way. Fortified Beachline is an actual really good land in the deck.
In colorless decks, of which there are way more than blue-white soldier decks, this is going to be pretty sweet.
I don't even know if that's true.
We'll check. If you want to be just like Teferi and do some time traveling, you can go to the future, where we're about to do the top 10 cards from the set right here. If not, you're going to get some random video from the past. You have to click on it.
Yep. Peace out, Tribe Scouts.